Hi, welcome to No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. Hi, Ebony. Thank you guys for all joining this evening on this glorious, beautiful Wednesday. How is everybody doing? Hello. Welcome to No Ordinary Woman Chat Show. If this is your first time, welcome to No Ordinary Woman Chat Show, a platform to inspire. I am your host, Miss Kazmak. Hi guys, thank you all for joining. Wow, we have an audience here. So how's everyone doing? I need guys to really just interact with me this evening because today's topic is really very, very close to my heart. And I hope everyone is well. How's everyone coping with this whole pandemic? I mean, it appears that everyone's kind of like coming off the lockdown. Everyone just kind of like lifted off what the government hasn't been saying. So guys, if you have been tuned in with us all this week, we've had amazing guests who's been sharing about their stories in regards to mental health. As we all know, it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and we have some professionals that will be on the show. We have well, you basically got to follow us. We've got Kay Lawrence, we've got Zainab, some professionals who's going to be giving us some tips and advice, etc. But this evening we have an amazing guest who we've also had on the No Ordinary Woman Chat Show last year for Now What is Mental Health, the theme that we have continued for Mental Health Awareness Week, where she's going to share her story and really just to encourage us and just talk about what she went through, and also to encourage any parents that's also dealing with anybody that's actually lost a loved one to suicide. So without further ado, I'm going to request Yvette. So guys, if you can just bear with me one moment. I'm just waiting for Yvette to join me right now. She's just finished doing a live with Leah Charles King, who also has been one of our guests. Good evening, Yvette. How are you, gorgeous lady?
Hello, and you look beautiful tonight. Look at you.
Bless you. Thank you so much.
It's so hot. I can't believe how hot it is.
I know, right? It's so hot. I mean, I've had like literally a good few showers already. It's just been crazy. But you know what? I'm so grateful. I'm not going to complain. It's just a bit sad because I'm still working. Well, obviously I'm working from home, but I would love to just be out in the sun like certain people have been out in the sun, in the park, etc. And I've just been on my balcony and just working, doing the whole 9 to 5 and everything else, and also preparing for the show, etc. So how you been?
Okay. Yeah, okay. It's still a long process. Still, we're still waiting. Still, and the obviously now this lovely virus has joined us. We're still waiting. Now it's been postponed, the inquest.
Okay, so let me just stop you just there.
That's okay.
Only the reason being is because obviously we have viewers that are on the show. They have no idea. Some people has got idea about your show because they've obviously watched the live last year, and they've also watched the episode with you last year. But just in case those who are new to our platform and haven't heard your story, if you don't mind just sharing, just tell them about you, and if you don't mind just sharing. Okay,
I've got three children, 3 gorgeous girls. My middle child, Leighane, she had my beautiful granddaughter Sadie. Brilliant mum, brilliant, no signs of mental illness really, throughout her life. The odd low mood, normal teenage stuff, that kind of thing. Bit of premenstrual tension now and again, like I think we all get, but nothing that was significant enough for me to be worried about. Then she had Sadie, and then she had the relationship breakdown. She started to, the first actual sort of real, she started to go through jobs quite sort of, she wouldn't stay at any particular job at any one time. And it was, she'd stay for a month and then she'd leave, or she'd stay, sometimes only a week, and then she'd just leave. And she'd say that, they were racist, or they were, talking about her, or, so that was like, a bit of a, but you just think she's just finding her feet. She's just had a baby. It's normal, isn't it? And then she started to make some really serious accusations against people. family members, friends, started losing her friends through accusing them of various horrible things. Family members as well. She lost a lot of her family network because of the things she was saying. And
so when you say things that she was saying, could you just to give our viewers an idea of things that she would actually say,
a lot
why
of
she would lose
one of her
these
friends in
friends?
particular, it was she was poisoning her drink every time they went out.
Right.
There was a lot of sexual abuse. She was accusing people of of sexually abusing other people, other family members, and it it got to the point where people were upset, and understandably so. I was upset with her, because she, one of them was very close to me. So it was a difficult time. She was, she just began to change, but it wasn't continuous. You'd have like an accusation, and then there'd be months with normal, and then another accusation would come out, and then another months and months of normal, and then and in between time she's losing job, finding job, losing job, finding job. And then the big thing happened on the 23rd of December 2018. She called me crying, incoherent. She was rambling. I mean, half of the stuff I couldn't even make out what she was saying. She was saying, they're going to kill me. You need to come now. And I'm thinking, God, who is she upset that bad that they're going to kill her? I
Yeah.
couldn't. And she was saying, you don't understand. They're powerful. They're powerful. They're going to kill me. And I was thinking, what has she got herself involved with? What's happened? So obviously I dropped everything, went to her, brought my niece along. And what I saw there was just, it was a, I've never heard, because I've never known anybody with any mental health illnesses. So this was all new to me. And I got there, and she was calm when I first got there, but she was talking about rainbows, and she was going to go on X Factor. She was going to win it. They told her, and I'm saying, who's they? Who's told you? But she couldn't answer who they were,
Mm-hmm.
And she'd lost so much weight in so little time. I mean, she was a good size 16 to 18. She'd gone down to a less than an 8. She was so skinny.
Mm-hmm.
She was saying that they'd poisoned her food. She was saying she had HIV. These people had been paid by family members to take Sadie away from her. And the way they were going to do that was to give her HIV. So she said she was going to, if the HIV hadn't killed her by the 29th of December, she was going to shoot this person that had paid these people to come and ruin her life. And then she was going to kill herself. So I knew straight away, she was ill, and I didn't even know what it was. Didn't have a clue. And she kept repeating about the HIV. So we were there for hours and hours with this rambling. So I kept saying to her, look, let me take you to the hospital. Maybe you can talk to somebody there and they can help you. And she was adamant she wasn't going, that if I go there, they're going to take Sadie from me. And I said, look, okay, we'll go and we'll get a HIV test. And I thought, right, that's my way to get her there, So she agreed in the end to go and get this HIV test. And when we got there, obviously I couldn't say to the receptionist because she was there. We booked in and said she wants a HIV test. While she went into the triage nurse, I then approached the receptionist and I told her everything that had happened. And I said, I don't know whether you've got some sort of mental health team here or something, but someone needs to see her because this has been going on. She said, right, I'll let the triage nurse know, which she did. Within a few minutes, Leighane came out and the triage nurse just said, we don't do HIV tests here.
Oh, God.
So I was like, what? So I said, did
So they didn't communicate this at
Well, they
all?
did, because I said to her, did the receptionist speak to you? She went, yes, she did. She said, but she's booked in for a HIV test. She hasn't booked in for anything else. So I said, but I've already and I couldn't repeat what I'd said because obviously Leighane was standing next to me.
Yeah, she's with you.
And she was
Yeah.
very paranoid, so she was watching me all the, I couldn't even, I couldn't. So we had to leave. I had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
And then my niece took her back to her house, and I thought, because I need to start ringing, because I need to start doing something. So I came back, I called 111. 111 sent the police. The police came to the door, and she started again kicking off a bit in front of the police, saying, "Why have you got cameras? Why are you filming me? They've got cameras, they've got cameras." And the police literally looked over her shoulder and said to my niece, "Is her daughter here, Sadie?" So, and she was 3 at the time, my granddaughter. And she said, "Yes, yeah, she's here." So they said, "Is she all right?" And they said, "Yeah." And they said, "It's a child welfare check." That's all they were interested in.
Are you
And they
serious?
left. So then my niece rang me and said, "What are we going to do?" So I thought, "Oh God, I don't know. I just don't know what to do." So that night we got Sadie taken care of by her father. That was good. So we knew Sadie was safe. My niece kept Leighane. Then the next day I went to Leanne's GP, again with my niece. And again, we were just sent away. She said she can't make a referral or do anything without Leighane being here. I said, "But she doesn't know she's ill. She doesn't. She believes all this stuff. She believes all this, this power and this force and this. She's hearing voices clearly. It was so obvious to me." And she said, "Well, I can't just take your word for that." And at one point, because I cried all the way through, I was so distraught. I was
Yeah.
so scared because I'd done some Googling by then, and all that kept coming up was paranoid schizophrenia, and saying that people with paranoid schizophrenia often feel the need to jump off of buildings. And she lived in a third floor flat, so my only worry then was she's going to jump out of that window.
Yeah.
That was what I was worried about. And the GP, her actual words to me were, "Stop crying, go home and support your daughter."
That's what they said to you.
That's
So
what she
there was
said to
no
me.
empathy or anything
Nothing.
whatsoever.
No, nothing.
And so in regards to everything that's actually like what was said, and the police was involved, and so what then happened next? I mean, because obviously,
Well,
like you said, we've
they
got people that's here that wants to know hear the
yeah,
story.
the social worker called me the following day and said that Sadie's father was to keep her until Leighane could come, because also at the flat she'd wrapped her television up in cling film and put it under her bed. Sadie's teddies, the heads were ripped off where she'd been looking for cameras.
Can I just interrupt for one moment?
Yep, of
So
course.
when they said they're doing a child welfare check, right? So did they actually come into the house, or was
Apparently
it
they're
just
not
a
allowed.
peek around the door and
They
that?
literally peeked round the door over my niece's shoulder to look at Sadie. They didn't even enter the property. Apparently they're not allowed.
So what was the purpose of them being there?
Just to make sure the child was fine.
But I mean, I'm just trying to understand this, because if
So am I. So
if
am I.
somebody doesn't feel well and they're acting really, not within their normal character, you see somebody just acting a certain way. I mean, even for me, I'm not a professional in that sense. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like social work or anything from that profession. But why would you not then, do you know what I mean, interject even more, intervene? I don't
No.
understand. I
I've been
just don't
told
understand
I've been
how that
told
is.
since that in order to get someone sectioned, families have had to lie, where police officers have actually told families, tell them that they're sticking knives in the plug socket. This is one case I know of. And then we can come in and get, and then when you push her out, we can get her. Push her out the door and we can section her. Because
Right.
they
So
can't
basically,
enter. Yeah.
right. So we can't enter unless you
No.
actually exaggerate the
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah. And
even
it's
though,
critical at that moment. Yeah.
but this to me sounds, based upon what you're sharing with me. I mean,
Yeah.
even the fact that you've gone to the hospital, and having to really just go with the story to say, yes, she's going to have an HIV test and
Yeah.
etc. You've spoken to the receptionist,
Yeah.
and yet it still came back to
Yeah.
no empathy, no sympathy
No.
whatsoever. It's just like, it's not our problem. We
No.
don't care.
Didn't
Then
care.
it resulted to
The GP, nothing from the GP. Then they ended up saying that they would see her at a local hospital for a psychiatric analysis with a psychiatrist and a adult social worker. She went there a few days later. She had an assessment, but acted totally normally. So they let her go and they gave Sadie back to her. They never came back to me at all. Never came and asked for my opinion, or told me where to go, what to do, if if there was anything else, or even get my story. Really, they never even received the 111 report until after she'd had that assessment.
So can I also ask, and I do apologize if
That's all right.
I'm being a bit pushing the envelope slightly, but where was Dad in all of this? I mean, surely Dad was still popping around seeing.
I think
the child and
he knew
well, right?
she wasn't acting right, but she was. I think he was as confused as we were at that point of what to do and how to do it. And I was very also aware, because Leighane loved Sadie. I mean, they had such a bond. They were such, they were just two peas in a pod. They were, they loved each other like you wouldn't believe. It was amazing, their connection. So I think, he was in a situation as well where he didn't know what to do, and we were all very wary, I think, of upsetting her and making her worse and making her not trust us, if that makes sense. And I think from his perspective, I think maybe, I mean, I can't speak for him, but I think maybe, he was worried that she would stop him seeing Sadie, which she could have done. There's a whole heap of things that could have happened. But as I say, when they gave her back to her, and I didn't know what to do, so I ended up bringing them here, both of them, and then they were living between.
To your home, right?
Because there was no one else to watch out for her. Nobody would. I took her back to A&E again in January because she'd started off again, talking the same rubbish, and and me not understanding what and she was, the overall feeling was she was so scared. She was absolutely scared. That's the only way I can say it. And it doesn't even go close to how scared she really was. And she didn't trust anybody. Then in February, she got herself a job, finally. And she worked at one place for a week. The week before, she was working all week. And it was like a complete turnaround. She started putting makeup on again, and she was happy, and she was sparkly. And I was thinking, God, all she needed was a job. We've done it. That's what she needed, was to get herself back on her feet and get herself. And then she just resigned from the job on the Friday for no reason. And and she went, well, I've got another job to start Monday, and it's better pay. And I said, but you love this job. Why did you just give it up? She went, no, because I just want to start this new one. So on the Monday, 18th of February, she left here in the morning. And then I got a call from my eldest daughter, who was with her, and said, Mum, she hasn't gone in to this new job. So I called her and I said,
so
what?
There was definitely a new job that was there then.
Yeah.
So she was still able to get herself, go for interviews and everything else, still functioning as normal.
Yeah.
But obviously still dealing with like the voices and everything else going on at the same time. Right.
Yeah. And then she was due to start this job. She didn't go in. I called her and she said, no, it's fine. They said, I can start tomorrow. So I said, okay, but it just doesn't look very good, when you don't turn in for the first day. So she went, no, honestly, Mum, they're lovely, they're fine. And she seemed, okay. And then at 7:30 that night, I got a call from her and I didn't answer it. I regret that for the rest of my life. I didn't answer. And the reason I didn't answer was because I thought she's going to ask to come back here again. And if she comes back here again, she won't go to her job tomorrow.
Right.
And I thought I was doing a good thing, forcing her back, because I just wanted her to be that happy again, I wanted.
And obviously you didn't know what was going on. You're not getting any support. You're reading things, but it's still not really making any real clear sense as well. So you can't even, you can't even you can't even blame yourself for that whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? I
always will. But then she called me at 7:30. Then she called Sadie's dad, saying that Sadie needs to go to hospital. It was weird stuff again. He turned up at her house to pick Sadie up, and she wasn't there. So he called me and he said, she's called me saying that Sadie needs to go to hospital. And I thought, oh my God, this is it again. She's going again. So I was already getting ready because I was going to go to bed, and I got ready straight away to go and then he said, oh my God, there's loads of sirens and the ambulance is going by, and because she lived next door to the station. And he said, they've all stopped at the station. And I knew straight away, I just knew. And I drove straight down there and we waited out. And I knew because he had gone up first, and I stayed on the phone with him while I was driving there. And I heard him say, you know, my ex-partner and my child are missing. And then they said, how old was she? And he said, she's my child's 3 and my ex-partner's 27. And they put him straight in the back of the van. So I knew before I even got there. And she jumped under the train.
And how old was Sadie at this time as well?
Sadie was 3.
And Leighane was
27.
27. And she didn't get no support.
No.
No help whatsoever.
No.
So in regards to everything that's happened now, I mean, obviously you've been on the show twice last year, and obviously every time,
you get bored with me,
guys, I do apologize that I have become very
bless you.
I am very emotional about this, and you know, I'm not going to lie, I was really just a bit apprehensive, as you know, because I called you beforehand about doing a show. But what's happening now in terms of, I understand there's an inquest.
Yep.
So what's happening? What's you know,
Nothing.
what are they doing about it?
No, well, I mean, you know, I must admit I've got a brilliant legal team, and I had to do that because if I hadn't, it would have just been that, you know, there was a lot of, I don't know, there's not too much I can say, but things weren't going the way I thought was right, because, you know, to my mind, if somebody's hearing voices and somebody's mentally unwell, let's just say, for instance, Sadie had died and Leighane had survived. She wouldn't go to trial. She wouldn't go, because it would be a diminished, she would be sectioned, and there would be, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So why should she be labelled a murderer because she's dead? Because, you know, the inquest process only allows, you know, for very limited.
So they've actually said it, so they put her down as a murderer, is that what you're saying?
Well, no, they say it's not murder, but it's unlawful killing and suicide. That's how the police treated it.
Even though you've been in contact with the police, they can clearly see the records, the reports, etc., but they failed not to further investigate, so now they're just going to put it down to that. How is that justice? I mean, how do you feel in regards to this, you know?
I just, you know, and she had tons of friends, and they're all saying, you know, they would know. They, you know, they know she would have been, I mean, can you imagine to jump under a high-speed train is, you know, Leighane wasn't that, she would have been terrified even just standing, you know, she was walking around the station for 2 hours, and nobody.
So did they not pick this up on a camera or anything?
It's all on,
you know,
it's all on CCTV.
Workers and things like that, because I mean, I mean, I don't work underground or overground or anything else like that, but I mean, even just being on a train station, if you see somebody, maybe it's just how some people are, but I just think if you're in a certain position, you know that potentially some people may do this. You just be like this. I mean, what time of the day was this?
This was at night, 9:37. She jumped.
Right. So you see a young mum with her daughter just walking up and down.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? To me, that's just like alarm bell.
That's abnormal. Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
So I don't understand how even that train station, their staff even missed that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to blame them, do you know what I'm saying? Because it's not really about a blaming game. No. But it's just like, I mean, I'm just getting a bit worked up, and I need to calm down a little bit. But how are you dealing with this? I mean, obviously it's Mental Health Awareness Week. How are you dealing with this for your own mental well-being?
Oh, wow, good question. I don't think I've even started grieving properly yet, because I'm so busy with the fight. I think once it's all over, I don't know how I'm going to be. I'm more interested at the moment in getting so many different things that I found out, you know, about NHS trusts aren't linked. I always believed they were linked. You know, like the police, if you get arrested in, I don't know, Newcastle, and then you move down to London, and in Newcastle you'd been done for, I don't know, shoplifting or whatever, you know, a minor offence, they would know about it in London because it's on your record.
That's right.
NHS trusts don't work like that.
Okay,
You
so
can
can you
attempt
explain?
suicide in one borough, go to another NHS trust, and they wouldn't know that you'd attempted in the previous one. That's ridiculous.
Right, so they're not
They're not
connected. They
linked.
don't have the same files or anything like that.
No, no. And what happened was when I called, it's since transpired, since when I called 111, I was, because Leighane lived on the border of two NHS trusts. So when I called, I was actually put through to the wrong NHS trust. They then had to forward it on to the correct NHS trust. And by the time it got to her actually going for that one assessment, it had all got watered down. And they didn't have the, you know, the original 111 report. They didn't have any of that at hand when they interviewed, you know, when they saw her. So that's got to change. That's my first thing, is that link up's got to happen. So, you know, if you've got problems in one NHS trust and you go to another one, they only have to tap your name in like it does on the police computer,
Yeah,
and they will know. And that will go for not just for mental health, but for people with, you know, diabetics and stuff like that. If
right.
you're a diabetic and you need insulin, and you're, you know, they should be able to tap in your name and know that you're a
And you bring up
diabetic,
your
but they
record.
don't.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they don't. And that's, you know, that's incredible. In this day and age where everything is linked, this is still not linked. It's so out of date. It's unbelievable. That needs to change.
Goodness.
That's my biggest
Yeah.
at the moment. That's the thing that needs to change. That link up, first of all. So that
Yeah.
when Leighane had gone for that assessment, they would have been able to type in her name in their
And
computer
they
and it
should
would
bring
have
up a
come
report
up.
on it. Yeah.
Everything that I'd said, everything, you know, my contact with 111, all would have been there.
It's really bizarre because I just automatically assumed everything was all interlinked.
So
Do
did
you know what I
I.
mean? It
So did I.
just
Yeah. So did I. It's
so
incredible,
in
isn't it?
regards to you trying to get that to happen in terms of everything to be linked in together and you know within the National Health Services, how is that actually going for you? I
Well,
mean,
there is talk, I've been told in the last couple of weeks, that they are starting to link. But as I say, I've got, you know, there's so many, everyone's got, NHS England are involved now, and there's got to be different panel meetings for their death, and who was not who was responsible, but, you know, could they have done anything better, and could they have done, you know, all of that stuff. So many meetings that have got to take place before the inquest even happens. So it's there's a lot of people involved in the inquest, so it's going to take time. And because of the pandemic now, we can't all sit obviously in a small inquest room because they're tiny. So we're going to have to wait until the virus does, you know, does a runner.
until then. But you know, obviously, because I know like the word we can't use is commit suicide now. That's not a word we can say, you know, someone took their life.
Yeah.
But in regards to anybody, like say any parent, any loved one that's actually lost somebody to, you know, someone taking their life, what word of encouragement can you give to that person? Even I mean, you know, because obviously you're still grieving, you're still going through
Yeah.
this all because it's very raw, you know.
Yeah.
And I really just want to say that I really admire your strength,
Thank
you
you.
know, to come on this platform and just
Some days
share.
I'm not strong, you know. It depends what day it is, and you know, it's silly things. I might just get a general email from, say, my solicitor to say, oh, this and this and this, and it's nothing major, but I have to go to bed afterwards for the whole day. You know, it wipes me out because I can't.
Yeah.
You know, I have to stop thinking because, you know, it's going to do me my own mental health no good. But you know, with regards to just, you know, when you know your own, so you know your own family, you know your own loved ones, you know your children, you know your brothers, you know your sisters, and when you start to see that they're doing something just a little bit odd, step in straight away, you know, and just and try and get. And I, you know, I can't really even advise where you go. I know I went to Rethink Mental Illness. I went to 111. I went to social services. I went to, you know, to the hospitals. I thought they would help me, and they didn't. But you know, all I can say is just you need to go every day and just keep, you know, as I say, they've put up there's a big brick wall you've got to knock down. It's really, really hard to get somebody sectioned, and it's really hard. They keep talking about this. Oh, you need to self-refer. That's what happened when she went for that assessment. They gave her a self-referral form. And I was thinking
But
to
she's not
myself,
going to self-refer
how is
herself. She
she going
doesn't
to
even
know?
know
She
she's
doesn't
not
even know
well. Do
she's
you know
ill.
what I
She
mean?
thinks they're
That's
part of
just
the problem.
crazy.
Yeah, I know. She thinks they're part of the problem, and they give her a self-referral form. What kind of rubbish is that? It's
I
mad.
remember I remember when you was on a show last year,
Uh-huh.
and we had a psychologist. We had Dr. Lawrence that was
Lawrence.
on the show, and
Yeah,
he shared there was a certain app that you could actually
yeah, that's right.
use.
It's
So
called
what was that app called? Just
it,
in case anybody who's watching and they may need this information themselves.
it's called the nearest relative, and
Right, what does that entail?
the nearest relative means he did explain that normally it's only used in places, you know, like the Orkney Isles, where they can't get where they used to not be able to get a social worker, an adult social worker. But you can use that nearest relative to demand a 72-hour assessment of your loved one, as long as you're their next of kin or you're their nearest relative, as the law says. And they will assess them properly for 72 hours. She wouldn't have been
Right,
able to mask that for
that
72 hours. And that was my
right,
point. You know, had I been
yeah,
told about that nearest relative rule, I'd have been down there and signed a, you know, I would agree to it in a heartbeat, because I
and that's the
knew,
nearest relative.
yeah. And, you know, that was my thing all the way through. I knew this was going to be the end result. I didn't know the way. I never dreamed she would be brave enough to jump under a train, but then I don't think she was even aware that she'd done it. I think if we could go back and ask her now, I think she wouldn't even remember being there, because I think she
Yeah.
was just so, you know, by that time the voices were so loud, I don't think she even knew where she was, because she kept going missing as well, and not, you know, sit and places where she'd been before, she said she couldn't find.
So
um
in because you said that how, you know, obviously you thought she has schizophrenia, but what is it that she actually had in terms of
well,
mental
she
health?
never got a diagnosis of anything, but it was the
Right.
doctor that said it sounds like psychosis.
And what is psychosis?
Well, psychosis is a loss of reality. Um, it's similar symptoms, and from what I've read since, it's psychosis until you've had it for longer than, I think, 6 months, and once you've had it for longer than 6 months, it's then diagnosed as schizophrenia. So it is the
Right.
kind of start of schizophrenia.
Okay, so
But you
it's
lose
right.
reality, you lose, you know, there was times where, I mean, the longest was 10 hours. 10 hours she was missing. She was supposed to meet an aunt. She didn't show up. Then she called me, and I thought she'd been with the aunt all day. I wasn't worried. I thought she's with her aunt.
Yeah.
She's fine. And then she called me late at night, and I said,
Who
"Where are
called
you?"
you? Leanne.
Leanne. And she said, "I'm on the
Right.
train on the way back." I said, "Okay." I said, "Did you have a nice day with your auntie?" So she went, "I couldn't find the restaurant, Mum. I couldn't. I said, well, where have you been all day with Sadie?" And she was with Sadie. So she said, "I don't know." And they thought that that was fine to leave her with a 3-year-old.
So, all right. So, you
And
know,
I have
obviously
no,
she
I
was
mean, and
going
that,
to meet the aunt. So,
sorry.
did she actually make the plan to meet the aunt, or was she
Yes.
just?
Yeah,
So
they
did
were
the aunt?
waiting for the aunt. They've been calling her all day, and they just thought, because sometimes she never used to turn up to things. She used to arrange to meet people and then not turn up. That was quite, you know, that was one of Leanne's things. Um, so they weren't too sort of concerned that she hadn't turned up, because they didn't know, and that's the trouble, is the stigma, you know, that goes along with mental health. Is I never told them that she was ill, and I never told them because I didn't want them to bring it up with her and then she gets angry with me. Do you understand what I mean? It's her story
Yeah.
to tell, it wasn't mine. And, you know, hindsight's 2020, isn't it? You know, and there's a lot different I would have done, and, you know, now. But yeah, that's that. And, you know, again, that's a common, it's called something when they go missing and they can't remember what they've done. I can't remember what it's called. Disassociation, I think it's called.
Right.
And they can go missing for days sometimes, just walking around and around, and then not remember that they've done it.
Goodness.
The brain
It's
just
just how,
shuts off.
you know what's just so sad about the whole situation in regards to, you know, obviously losing Leighane, losing Sadie and everything else.
Mm.
It's just the impact it's had on everybody else as well. Do you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And
I'll never get over it. I'll never ever get
yeah,
over it. I'll never accept it. And it's, you know,
and I
the
think
hardest.
in Leigh's defense, she didn't know what she was going through.
No,
Do you know what I'm saying? It
no.
sounds like this is a woman, you know, she's completely just gone. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
The more I called people, the more she thought I was with this force that was trying to take
yeah,
Sadie from her. So I had to stop reporting in the end because she didn't trust me, and I had to get her trust back. She had to have something, otherwise she
yeah,
would have had nobody. This I believe would have happened miles earlier had I not, you know, stopped reporting and tried to get her back on side. And but there you go. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it on my own. I needed help, and the help wasn't there. Because I didn't know what I was. I'm not a doctor. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I
of
didn't
course.
know whether to tell her she was wrong, to agree
Yeah,
with her, to, you know, I didn't know how to play her, and I was scared of her, but not in a scared that she was going to attack me way, but scared to upset her, or scared to even, you know, driving in the car, I would turn the radio down because I was aware of the lyrics, and you know, I became so sensitive around her,
yeah.
thinking she's going to think that if she hears that, and you know, it was a horrible time, horrible
But to
time.
be, but to be, you know, on your defensive bit, who would know what to do?
No, I
Do
didn't
you
know
understand
what
what I'm
to do.
saying? Because,
Mm.
you know, listening to your story, I don't know if I had a daughter and I had a granddaughter, I don't know what I would do in such a
No,
circumstance. You
no,
done, you know, you took her home, you thought she was getting back to normality, and you know, at the end of the day, it's not like you've experienced anybody with any mental
no,
health issues. Do you understand what I'm
no.
saying? And I
And
think
grandparents
obviously,
have no rights to their grandchildren. I had no right to take Sadie
so
at all. We
so
had
the
no right.
only person that had rights was the father
Yeah,
then. But even sounding how it sounds to me, he didn't even know what to do
no, he
himself.
didn't. He
So
didn't. He didn't. None of us did. I don't think any of us did. We all took it in turns to try and guard her, I guess, and you know, as much as we could. But you know, what do you do when you don't know what you're doing? You know, it was like, you know, it, as I say, we're not psychiatrists, and we're not,
yeah,
you know, and I was very, very aware of her losing trust in people very fast, very fast. They'd only have to say one thing, and I'll give you an example. There was the morning before. This is how I knew that something wasn't right on the Monday. The night before, she was, because she'd lost all this weight, and I'd said to her, you know, please, you've got to start eating. You know, honestly, you know, I'm not going to poison you. Just please eat what I give you. I will never poison you. I'd never do that. And she went, will I get fat again? I said, well, no, of course you won't get fat. I said, look, just have porridge for breakfast and a lunch and then a dinner, salad, whatever it may be. As long as you're eating sensibly, you won't get better unless you eat. And then she looked at the wall, and then she looked back at me like this, and she said, what did you say I should eat for breakfast?
uh,
And I said, porridge. And then I felt, you know, I was scared because I thought, shit, what have I said? What, you know, but whatever was
yeah,
said to her in that minute was wrong. See, she's giving you porridge. It's that kind, you know, you could feel
yeah.
that atmosphere in the room. It was horrible to live with. It was the worst 8 weeks of my life. I can't, you know, it was a horrible situation to be in.
So I mean, if any parents, anybody that is watching this right now, you know, there is help
Yeah.
in terms of what you said in regards to the 72 hours where you can actually intervene to
Nearest
get
relative, write
the
it down.
nearest
Nearest
relative.
relative.
So the nearest relative, that is something that you do need to make a note of.
Absolutely.
Do you know, I'm not sure, do you know, if you don't mind just popping that on there for me in a comment, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Nearest relative. And I'm just really just taken back. I don't even know what else to really, all I can just think about is what happens now, what
Yeah.
happens for you now, what, I mean, how is the impact being, like you said, obviously you still haven't been 100% being able to grieve, but how is it, has it impact on, say, the father side of the family,
I don't know. We
your
don't.
side of the family? Because
Yeah.
obviously,
On
I
my side,
understand from
yeah.
last year, you wasn't even allowed to go to your granddaughter's funeral.
No.
I mean, how was that?
It was awful. It's the worst day of my life. That, you know, that day, apart from them dying, obviously, but to sit here and know she was being buried, and it took everything from me. It was horrible. It was horrible. It was the worst day. The worst day. Just felt that she'd been snatched away from me, you know, and she was my everything. She was Nana's girl. She used to say it, I'm Nana's girl. And yeah, gone.
Guys, thank you for all tuning in. I just want to ask, has anybody got any questions that they want to ask Yvette in regards to, you know, what's been shared? I'm just going to scroll through,
Okay.
Yvette, just in case I've missed anything. But how has the family been? I mean, obviously, you know, that your
Well,
side of the family.
yeah, I mean, that was another thing, was the press. The Daily Mail did a big article on it.
Right.
And didn't tell us. They stole pictures from my Facebook, and printed a whole big story on it, and the headline was disgusting. Died under the wheels of a train.
Jesus.
And their pictures, and they didn't warn us. And of course, you know, I've got a younger child who went to school, and her friends had found the article by the time she got there, so I had to go and get her and bring her home, because we weren't aware that it was even going to be printed. Yeah, it's awful. It's
So
awful.
did you get in contact with the paper to ask them what is
Yeah,
this?
and their attitude was, it was a freelance reporter that they bought it from, so that's allowed.
And they were allowed to obviously just
Yeah,
go onto your Facebook page
yeah,
and just help themselves to
yeah,
your pictures.
yeah. So that was it then. All my social media got shut down. I've actually only opened it up for this this last week, but then I'll be closing it back down again, because, you know.
Somebody Creative Vibes wanted to say this to you, Yvette. I don't have a question. I just want to say how amazing you have been, Yvette, and how lucky I am to have a friend like you.
My
You're
friend
an
Tat.
absolute woman, and I love you. So
I
just
love
be
you too.
encouraged, because you've got people, and I can see that there's a lot of love from your loved ones as well. And, you know, even the time frame that we've met, and you've encouraged me, because, you know, obviously you know, I have days where I feel very low and I struggle to even get out of bed sometimes, you
Always
know.
here for you, you know that.
Yeah, you know, and that's why I think for me, in regards to Mental Health Awareness Week, it's so near to my heart, because I know my own personal struggles that I've been going through.
Yeah.
And, you know, and obviously for myself, and in case anybody's actually watched and don't know really my story about my struggle and everything, but I've also had a lot of times where I've had a lot of suicidal thoughts, and I tried to commit suicide from when I was about 14, and no one knew in my household that I even did
Oh,
it. You know
wow.
what I mean? So, but it, you know, listening to this story makes me, it just makes me realize the impact that I will have on my family. Do you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? And
I
that's
don't think
kind of,
Leighane would have ever, this is another thing, she wouldn't have caused that much pain for us. She wouldn't have done that.
but
Under
the thing is,
normal
she
Leighane,
wasn't,
yeah,
but
under normal Leighane, she would never have
yeah,
caused that much pain. She was so aware of people, and she always wanted people to do well. She always wanted people to, you know, encourage people. And, you know, as I said, you know, if you wanted your CV done, she was your girl. You went to her. She, you know, if you wanted a holiday booked, she'd find you the best holiday and the best deal. And she always
yeah.
wanted to help people. And she was so sparkly, and slowly that spark disappeared. And it was so gradual. I think everybody missed it.
Somebody called Ter Scott, hopeless romantic, said, where can I get help? Where can you get help? I'm just trying to understand, are you dealing with mental health issues? Are you going through suicidal thoughts, etc.? I know for myself
Oh,
personally, number one is
yeah,
you need to talk, and even that you're even sharing where can you get help. I
yeah.
would even call the Samaritans. Um,
There's a
who is
brilliant organisation called Rethink Mental Illness. They're very
rethink
good.
mental health?
Yeah, they'll give you lots
Okay.
of advice of where to go, and your GP must be your number one call. I know GPs haven't got a good, my GP hasn't got a good rep anyway, but you know, you need to go to your GP and get it, because a lot of this self-referral thing is a load of rubbish, I think, in my book. I don't know how people who don't know they're ill are going to self-refer. I'm still trying to work that one out. But Rethink
Yeah.
Mental Illness, very good organisation, and they will talk to
And is
you.
that like a talk therapy, or how do they work?
No, they will give you therapists in your area, and
Hmm.
just general advice as well about where to go for help if you feel you're in crisis.
Hmm.
They will guide you in the right way. They're very good, very good, very good
Yeah,
organisation.
because I remember even having
It was
Leah
them
on
that
the
told
show
me about
on
the
Monday.
yeah. It was them that told me about the nearest relative role. Rethink.
Right, okay, because
Mm,
I even remember with Leah even sharing on her episode, which was on Monday, and she got lost in the system.
yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? You know,
Quite
she got
common.
lost in the system and everything else. So
Mm,
it just sounds very much similar to what's actually unfortunately happened to Leanne. You know,
mm,
it's not even that she got lost in the system,
no.
they just didn't really take heed, they didn't take
Well, I think the
anything in.
guy Leah had on her show tonight, he said, I'm sure I heard that 10% of the NHS budget goes on mental health, 10%, but
Right.
30% of the people sitting in front of doctors are for mental health reasons.
Say that again, rewind, say that again. So
So
10%,
10,
okay.
10% of the NHS budget is put aside for mental health, 10%.
Right.
But 30% of the people that go to their GP are for mental health reasons. So it just shows there's a
Makes sense.
massive deficit.
Massive, yeah. But maybe what it sounds like, is the system's not able to cope.
No, it's not. It's
They're
not.
not
And I
able to
think
cope. But
I think
even,
we
I
spoke
mean,
before, didn't we, about the amount of nurses that are leaving the mental health profession now. We spoke about this before because they
they
can't
can't
do the
cope.
job that they want to do because the money isn't there
Yeah,
to do it. And they're
yeah.
spending so much time now trying to correct their mistakes that it takes it away from the system that where people still need the help.
So, but my thing is, I mean, I don't even know how I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say it as it comes into my mind. But with what you're saying in terms of your statistics based upon your research, yeah, but it just shows that we have an issue within ourselves as human beings. You understand
Yep.
what I'm saying? So
Yep.
there's an underlying root issue. I mean,
Yep.
even when you think about the pandemic that we're going through now,
Yep. Yep.
for myself personally, the first, say, 2 weeks, I was literally going mad.
Really.
I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have not been 100% social distancing because I needed to have some form of, you know, human contact. I
Yeah.
needed to see
Yeah.
people. I
Yeah.
needed to be around people. Yes, I was being, do you know what I mean? Just being sensible, but I couldn't continue to listen to the news and things like that. I had to set boundaries to protect my mental well-being.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you know, how can people cope with just the day-to-day challenges through life? Because the world is getting more and more, it's like
No,
it's
I
coming
agree.
in and in and in on you. Do
Yeah,
you
I
understand what I'm
agree.
saying? And
I
that can
agree.
have an impact on you. And then obviously now we know that in organizations, they're, taking mental health awareness very serious.
Mm.
However, you do feel to a certain extent that you are going to be judged, you are going to be condemned because you can't say cope.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. And I was well aware of not telling, and now I wish I had, because she had friends that would have helped her and she had friends that would have, but I felt the stigma for her, if that makes sense. I didn't want her thinking that everybody thought she was mad. Do you understand what I'm,
of
and
course,
that's why I just tried to deal with it alone, and really, maybe if I'd involved friends and more family and sort of said, hang on, we all need to get together now and do something. If we'd all gone en masse as it were, to these people and said what was happening. But it was so difficult at that time because I wanted her to trust me.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I knew that if I told people, she wouldn't trust me anymore. And that was the biggest thing, was trying to get her trust so that I could get her the help that she desperately needed. And it wasn't there. And I've noticed, even when, I think Leah said herself, you know, she's banged on doors about her own mental health, knowing full well about her mental health, and she's struggling, and you know, you said yourself as well, and the help isn't there. The help just isn't there. And GPs just want to throw tablets at you. It's a quick, easy fix for them.
It's the easy fix,
Yeah, it's an
but
easy
then
fix.
when you're saying it, but then based upon your statistic, they don't have, you know, they don't
the
have the
money's not there.
staffing to be able to deal with it. They don't have it.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Needs to come from government. You know, the money needs to be put in properly in place. I mean, you hear it daily. I think I was telling you about the mental health nurse. Did you? I mean, she was a mental health nurse, and she phoned her boss and said she was struggling and she hadn't got out of bed for 7 days, and even the mental health boss didn't do anything. And then she killed herself.
Jesus.
You know, and they're in you know, they're in their own, you know, it's their work, and they're still not looking after each other. So it's definitely overrun, underfunded, and I don't know what the way out is. I don't know. I don't think that the government are going to provide any more money. I think we just have to, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. I think we have to start looking after our own en masse, as it were. It can't be held like one person responsible. So if, you know, a member of your family's ill, the whole family have to help. And
that's what
we have to, you know, start taking responsibility for our own.
Because that's what I'm getting from you in regards to, obviously, you know, you wanted to gain Leigh's trust and everything else, and obviously I understand you're protecting your daughter, hence the reason why you more than likely didn't share with your family. But with that being said, like you said, it takes it's a community. It's like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. You understand what I'm saying? So it's going back down to us talking amongst ourselves as family. You know,
I would actually like to know the suicide rate, if it's gone up since the event, you know, since social media came about, because now we're ignoring it's a text, isn't it? How you feeling? And I can text to anyone I'm okay, and they just take that as given.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on that. Don't even get me started. I remember I was going through a shutting down season, and I just literally must have put a post up on my WhatsApp, you know, I'm taking time out or whatever. And I kid you not, I was kid you not, and I'm not saying this for anybody to feel bad, because I'm not doing that. Only like one person actually phoned me and said, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Babe, I'm fine. I'm just, you know, thank you so much for checking in on me." She didn't know I had been going through any issues or anything, but the fact that she done that to me spoke so much volume. Do you know what I mean? It meant so much. And I think this is the thing with social media, because I know I'm responsible. I see things and I kind of like turn a blind eye to it. But social media has taken such a, you know, it's just become so like powerful that we've taken away that actual physical, that verbal communication. Everything is just texting. Nobody wants to be real about
you've got babies
dealing with,
watching iPads. You know, you've got babies sitting there with iPads, and the parents are on their phone. We all do it, and we're all guilty of it, because it's so in our faces now. And you know, that's, you know, perhaps through this pandemic, you know, it might teach us to love again, and that's what we need to do.
And I mean, obviously, with the theme being kindness for mental health awareness week and everything else, I could see somebody's made put a question out there, is how is your family coping? Do you take each day as it comes in regards to you and your family's mental health?
Each minute as it comes.
Right. So how do you do that? Like, you just, like, some days you may not want to do anything.
Some days I just take to my bed. A lot of days, actually, I just take to my bed and I sleep it away, because that's the only thing I can do.
Have you had counselling?
Yeah, it was hard to find counselling at first, because obviously the trust that I'm under is the same trust that Leighane was under. So I don't want them anywhere near me. So it was difficult at first. So I've now been moved over to a different trust, and I've got a brilliant counsellor. She's very good, very, very good. And she gets it. She gets, you know, what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling, and she lets me rant, and she lets me, and I don't know. But again, as I say, I don't think I'm even ready to grieve yet. You know, and I've explained that to her. I don't think I'm ready to even let that all out yet, because my first thought is to fight first. I need to get this inquest done and get people listening, and then maybe I can have time off to grieve.
Yeah.
You know, and to really miss them, because I, you know, that's the thing. It's the miss. You know, it's the missing them is the hardest bit of it. It's horrible. I mean, as I say, Sadie was my everything. That, you know, she was.
Was she your only granddaughter as well?
Yeah, my only grandchild. Yeah, my only grandchild. And she, you know, just miss her energy. I miss, you know, miss everything. Miss everything.
What I do want to share for those who are watching, we do have some health professionals that will be on the show tomorrow, Friday evening, Sunday as well. We got another young lady that's going to be sharing her story and dealing with mental health as well. The guest that will be on tomorrow, I had counselling through her organisation, and I remember seeing Kay and being like, I had to go through an assessment, and it was about an hour or so I went through and everything else, and that really, really helped me. So, you know,
you need to find the right one. I mean, it's pointless just going. It's pointless just going from counsellor to counsellor. It's pointless.
And this is the thing, and I 100% agree with you, because I've had counselling for the majority of my life, but when I actually came to her organisation, I think for me personally, mentally, I knew this is how I am, but I needed help. For me, I'm quite a deep thinker, so I was still thinking, I suppose, in a way, not comparing myself with Leighane, because I just wouldn't do that. But I could still function, if that makes sense. So I just knew, for me personally, what is the root for why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling? Why am I dealing with things the way I'm dealing with things? And I remember even like speaking to the co-host, speaking to Janelle, and Janelle was telling me about CBT, cognitive behavior therapy as well. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know, what is that? And things like that. And I remember even like I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, the lady, Nadia, the one that's on, they do the baking, the cakes and everything, because she talks about her dealing with anxiety, etc.
Yeah.
And she actually has CBT, you know, talking therapy, and how to deal with things rather than going down the route of having medication, you know. And it's just really, like you said, it is finding counselling, that counsellor really that you can connect with.
You don't need to go to anybody that's just saying, oh, I understand that must be very distressing. Oh, I understand that must be very hard. You don't need to hear that. You know it's hard. You know it's distressing. You don't need to be told.
That's how I felt when I went to my GP. When my GP gave me referral to my counsellor, she was literally, it's just like, I'm getting paid in it. There was no like, I was just like sitting there, just when's this up? I was out, I was gone. Do you know what I mean?
Pointless.
And I still had my shit that I was carrying. Do you know what I'm saying? But it's, I suppose, like you said, it's just finding that counsellor that you can really.
It took a year, I think, before I started my counselling, because I found a few, and they were just, I just thought, oh, they're just not interested. They're just, you know, it's pointless. I'd go to one session and just think, I don't want to go back there again. But this one I found, and she's very, very good. Very, very good. And
that's so important to really find, you know, get the counselling that you really need. You know what I'm saying? Because that's one of the things that I was thinking, you know, what are you doing for yourself? You know, because you have to get that.
I was in, I mean, when we first had lockdown, I kind of laughed to myself, because I've been in lockdown for a year and a half already. I never went out, you know, I'm
going to, sorry, Yvette, we're going to have to wrap up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Guys,
thank you so much. Don't time fly.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for sharing. Yvette, we love you. Guys, if you want to see Yvette's
and I love you too,
please go to the link in our bio. you can get to watch the full episode. Until then, thank you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.